Hello, everyone. I'm Karina, your host, and you're diving into your weekly journey of Escape the Reality, where I talk about all kinds of topics and share my life experiences with all of you listening. Today, I'm going to be talking about a bit of a different theme when you think about it at first, and that's spirituality. Of course, that could mean a lot of things to different people, but I'll be talking from my experience, like my viewpoints and my biased opinion as a whole. And yeah, so you can have your own viewpoints about that. You can have your own understanding of everything, of course. That's how it is actually. But I'll be just talking about how my experience has been so far, like throughout life, basically. And also, welcome to the second episode that I introduce video as part of it. I really hope you enjoyed the first one. If you're watching it on YouTube right now, if you're listening as well, you can check out, if you haven't yet, the YouTube video episode that I uploaded last week. It actually was uploaded a few days ago because I had some technical difficulties, but hopefully I'll manage it because I actually started it as a kind of a joke, but it actually turned out to be hopefully like successful. I have no idea. We'll see about that. But yeah, let's just dive into the theme of this week. It's a bit of a more like serious one, let's say, but still, it's not one to say that you really need to be that much involved in it to have like any sort of personal experience with it. So yeah, I think the best way to like start it out would be like to start from like my upbringing, what my like religious viewpoints when I was small as well were. And as I'm from originally from Bulgaria, I have like a Christianity upbringing. So my parents are Christian, and like my entire like family line, like everyone's just Christian. And there would have been like just going to the church on holidays, just having like the religious rituals and like everything that's just normal to do, like Christianity like base for Bulgaria. But at the same point, my mom side of the family is like Armenian, so like I've also been exposed to the Armenian church, Armenian holidays, and actually I was baptized when I was a kid in the Armenian church, so that's also like a big factor. But later when I had to actually be like the godmother of my cousin, I had to like just be baptized again in the like Bulgarian Christian church. It was like this whole sort of thing because they didn't actually allow me to be baptized in the Armenian church. So right now I'm like rebaptized in the Bulgarian one. It's like this whole crazy thing. I don't know, yeah. But it happened, yeah. So like I said, that's how my upbringing was. And as a whole, even if I was since kid exposed to like the whole religious side of things and like the rituals and all of that, like being with like the family, going to church together and all of that, even though it was mainly for like holidays and like something when there was like happening like a event or something from the church, still I the whole time I was feeling a bit uncomfortable going to church and just doing anything religious wise, even though that's like the standards, especially in Bulgaria, it's like just normal for you to be religious. Um, but yeah, I just felt personally a bit, let's say, embarrassed. Um, like I don't know, I felt like it was just not what I should be doing, but at the same time, it was like it still is like the socially acceptable thing to do. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, even though, yeah, I think I would just start with like the crazy facts, like from like the first few minutes. Yeah, so even though I did not actually, especially as a kid, you just cannot grasp the idea of religion as a whole when you're like so small. I don't know, even exposed to it that much. Um, but yeah, I was doing like a bit of embarrassing fact. But yeah, still, um, I went to bed, and there was like, I don't know what age I was. I think I was like around like 7 to 10 years old, even like a bit like more like 12 to 15 could have been. It was around that time. Like, yeah, I was basically going to bed every night with a prayer, and like I had this whole like ritual when I would just put like on both sides of me like my stuffed animals, and without them like I would not be able to have the prayer. I don't know how it all started. It was just this weird thing that I just started doing, and then it became like my religious like, let's say, like ritual. I don't know. It was weird. And so I put like the stuffed animals, my favorite ones, like on both sides of me. I actually still have them, like the the stuffed animals, just to mention that. But yeah, the main thing. So yeah, I put them on both sides of me, and I would just go into like a prayer. But it was not an actual prayer. Like, it's not like how you imagine the Christian prayer to be, like you just pray. I don't know. For me, it was it was like I was talking to a friend. It was not like I was talking to God, like a figure, like a big grand thing. Um, I was just praying because it felt right for me, and it felt right to do this whole ritual of mine. So yeah, that's why I was doing like this whole thing. Basically, it became my thing, and that's how I associated it. Like, I felt comfortable doing this, and that's why I proceeded doing it. It was not like I do it every single night or anything, but when I felt the need to do it, I just went and do it. I even felt a bit guilty when I hadn't prayed for like a month or something, and I would just go into my ritual like prayer, and I'd be like, sorry. I feel like if I was a kid right now and knew the lingo and like all of that, I would have just been like, "Sorry, bestie," or something. Like it was that for me. Like, I felt such a close connection to whatever I was speaking. It like it wasn't really that directed to God, because I didn't feel like so associated with that image and that whole structure. But at the same time, I had fun with it. Like, praying and being like religious actually sounded fun and seemed fun to me, which was the whole weird part of it, because how can religion and fun be like connected? But for me, I don't know how it all started, but I just gradually built this whole connection and this whole ritual for me when I just united religion with fun. Even though religion can be fun, but for me, especially when I was a kid, the two just did not go hand in hand. And I feel like it might have been, now thinking about it, it might have been that I just didn't felt so associated with religion, and that's why I created my own form of expressing it and my own form of praying. And then it actually kind of made sense, because I had my own thing and my own ways of doing things, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stick to it. It feels good, it feels right for me personally. I'm not gonna, of course, I actually, thinking about it, haven't actually told this whole thing about like to anyone, literally not a soul. um so yeah, you know that now. So yeah. Anyways, I the whole thing is that I didn't, and I still kind of don't even feel like really comfortable, like when someone asked me like if I was religious. Like, when someone came to me and like was like, do you believe in God? And I would be like, I have no idea. Or like, are you religious? Like, and I would be like, yes. Like, I would just say yes, because it's like the socially acceptable thing to say, you know. But in reality, I did have like a connection. I did have like some sort of my own thing to it, but at the same time I just did not feel anything that close in like the socially acceptable point of view. So yeah, I literally had a whole phase a bit after that, my whole rituals thingy when I was a kid, when I thought that I was even atheist, because I like nothing say about religion, like nothing religion wise made sense to me. So I was like, okay, like, um do I actually believe in anything? Like, what do I actually believe in? So I had this whole, I think it was like a year or something, could have been a bit less, but still, I think it was somewhere in high school when I was just like redoubting, like doubting just my whole perspective, my whole vision and beliefs and all of that. And I think like society as a whole had like some impact on that, and like how, because when you're in high school especially, like your viewpoints like change more like rapidly as a whole. And I think I had like a big point there when I was like, wait, wait a second, like sit for a minute, like what do I actually believe in? Do I actually believe there's anything out there? What are my beliefs? Because the whole time I was just being made to think what is like the right thing and what's like the socially acceptable thing to believe in, especially like being in Bulgaria, Christianity, and all of that. Um, Even when I was doing like Armenian traditions and all of that, I felt like sometimes even more comfortable with that. But at the same time, like being in Bulgaria, it's again like, oh yeah, like I had like this Armenian like dinner with my family, but it's still like a bit, it's like not the right thing. No, it's not like not the right thing, but it's not like the main thing that you are accepted to do, or kind of, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. Like I won't go too much into that because it's like a whole another thing. But as a whole, after this whole atheist rethinking process, obviously, yeah, I'm not right now. I realized that after this process, but I needed this process, because if I did not have it, I would not be here right now, like sitting recording an episode about spirituality. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, my religious relationship has evolved a lot. And it's weird because like right now, I believe just as much in God, just as I do in like a higher power, not specifically God, as a name and as a figure. And I now literally go like voluntary to churches, do rituals that are Christianity based, and have religious icons like standing in my room, and like all of that, like things that have been like part of my childhood and my upbringing, but were just there because I had to be. But now I actually do them voluntarily, and I actually have some meaning behind them, and like some actual beliefs that are my own. So yeah, that's how my relationship with religion as a whole has evolved like throughout the years until I became like now like 20 years old. But yeah, but then then the whole thing, like the main purpose of this episode, comes in spirituality. And yeah, about that, so I don't know who's like really like knows anything spirituality wise, or like if you have like any knowledge about it. But yeah, spirituality as a whole could mean a lot of things to a lot of people, just the same as religion as a whole, by spirituality for me personally, and I think that are actually some of the main things that describe it, are just connectedness with yourself, like body, mind, soul, like everything, like the three parts are just connected. and also connectedness with the outer world, like the nature, the people, like everything that's not concerned about you. So yeah, that's the main thing, like connectedness, also just acceptance, like just accepting that the situation is what it is, and like you cannot actually change it. Like what is, that's it. Like yeah, it might sound, if you're hearing like those things for a first time, it might sound a bit weird. But yeah, like I said, everyone can have like a whole different vision towards like spirituality. So it's not like, that's the good thing about it, because it's not like a certain thing. It's just more about like freedom of yourself and like freedom of your soul, and like just being free in general. And I think that's something that we as a society strive towards, like just freedom, like in any sort of way. It could be like freedom of speech, like freedom of expression, like anything. Just freedom as a whole is something that unites us as humanity. So that's why I think those are some of the things that are part of like spirituality, and could be used to describe it in a more generalized way. uh but yeah, so how it all started for me, because there's like this whole term, you've probably heard it lately because it became kind of trendy or popular. But yeah, it's spiritual awakening. So yeah, I had that not once, not twice, actually twice, but kind of like three times. But yeah, so my starting point of just going more into spirituality as a whole was the first quarantine, that was like 2020 in March. So in February, I need to give you some backstory, otherwise you would be like, what is she even talking about? Like, can you just be like more precise? So yeah, that's why I'm gonna be good to you and like give you some backstory, because you definitely need it. So so yeah, March, that was like the first quarantine when my whole viewpoint about like the world, myself, and like everything changed. And why that happened is because in February, a friend of mine introduced me to a so-called wheat regime. It's like a food regime for like one whole month. It's by Peter Dunov. He's like a Bulgarian spiritual teacher and like a philosopher, and he was also called like the master. So yeah, he formed like a white brotherhood thing, which I'll go a bit more deeply into a bit later, because right now you can be like totally like perplexed by the whole thing. But yeah, he lived like in the 19th century, and he just formed this whole community of people that were just guided by him, and just had like a bit of more, let's call it now, alternative beliefs, and it's like linked to spirituality as well. But yeah, how I got into that whole thing, it was so weird, because my friend was just like, okay, I'm gonna start this whole wheat regime. And apparently it was like really popular in Bulgaria, and I had no idea about it until my friend saw about, so like talked to me about it. And she was like, yeah, I'm starting it tomorrow. And I was like, wait, what? Tomorrow? And she was like, yeah, you could join. And I was like, wait, what? So I spent this night before it, I think a good amount of like 3 4 hours to just research as much as I can information about it, because I was like, I would not just do it like that, even though I actually did it just like that afterwards. But yeah, on the next day I started it, because it's like a whole month, and you have like a week preparation where you just prepare your body for it. And then you have like the main part, which is like 10 days, and then you have like another like 10 days where you just again prepare your body for like eating normally. But the whole thing is just 10 days. You eat three apples, you eat also like what's it called, like honey, but that's like an additional part. You can uh just change it how you want. Like if you don't like honey, you can just not eat it, but it's good for you. um but yeah, the main thing is like walnuts again, and you also have wheat, and that's why it's called wheat regime. But yeah, you get the point. So yeah, you eat like 100 grams of wheat only a day. And this whole thing, like this whole process, it might sound like too harsh for your body. A lot of people, even my friend, she tried it and she, I think, stopped on like the actual 6 or 7 day, I don't know. But yeah, even she was like I cannot do that. But the whole process is just like a combination of factors, and it's just about like mental resilience as well. I mean, I think it's generally about that, mainly about it, because like your body is like just indicating some things to you, but at the same time it's the mind that makes you be like, oh, you're hungry right now, you're like, you need to eat actual food. But actually I was feeling so good. And like the second day after, because it's like 10 days, like the main part, like I said. But after the second day I was like so good. The seventh and eighth day, so bad. But I'm not gonna go too much into that, so I have like more time to go into the other parts of the episode. But yeah, the whole idea is that I did that, and that was like after it, my like a first starting point of just changing my whole perspective. Because the whole idea of doing that regime is just clean your body from like all the toxins, and like your mind from like all the negativity, and like everything that's like just built up in you. um but yeah, it's not for everyone, I would say. Like you really need to first research upon it, and if you have like some medical stuff, again, like just consider a bit if you actually want to do it. And also there are like specific dates to do it. But yeah, just text me if you want to know more about it, because I also did it this year, so it was my second year. And I think I'm going to be doing it like every single year in February, because that's the main month to do it. So yeah, just text me, DM me, or whatever if you actually want to know more about it. I'll be more than happy to tell you. So yeah, after that regime, I was just poof, like a new self. I felt, I don't know how to describe it. Like if you've done the regime or you know about it or something, you might know that the effects are just like generally big. Especially for me, they were like after that, my whole mindset changed. I was feeling more free. Literally, I was feeling like I could fly. Afterwards I started doing yoga, and specifically I was doing yoga with Adrienne. I don't know, you might have heard of that, but she's like the most famous one. She's amazing. N- Not paid, but definitely definitely go check her out if you don't know her. She was my starting point to yoga. And then I was doing meditations, but at the same time it was quarantine, so I was doing like study materials as well, as I was graduating that year. um I was doing a lot of like trainings, running, cycling, and all of that. So it was like a combination of factors, and I was just taking care of myself, my body, my mind, and my soul, like everything. It was just connected. So yeah, I also like started reading like more spiritual books, and that was like actually easy because my mom has like a whole pile of them at home. Because when she was like younger, I think she also went through that whole process of just like spirituality and all of that. I might have like gotten it from her, I don't know. um but yeah, that's another like example how like spirituality and religion could be combined. Like it doesn't have to be like two separate things, and you don't have necessarily to do like one or the other. You can do both. So it's just how you're feeling it, what's best for you, what works the best for you. So yeah, except like the books, I also, because like during that whole regime, you can drink alcohol, caffeine, cigarettes, and all that. It's not like I were doing those things, but still, like the alcohol, I stopped it. And then without realizing it, I actually stopped it for whole months, which was a bit weird for me because I have like a, I don't know, weird, let's say, relationship with alcohol. So I've been drinking since like, I don't know, I was younger. And then like just stopping it for 4 months, I was like, wait, that's actually weird because before that I might have done it for like a month, a few weeks, not even realizing it. But then I actually stopped it for 4 months. And I realized that on the second month or something like that. And I was like, wait, what? I haven't like I consumed like any alcohol in the last 4 months. How is that possible? But it was just that everything was just so detoxed from my body, so cleared, and I was like just this whole new self, let's say. I don't know, just renewed self, let's say it like this. But yeah, so actually the main process started after that because I also like started like randomly like following like people on Instagram that inspired me and like got me more educated about that. I was following at the same time a lot of like health related and like mentality, spiritual things, and it all just started, and there hasn't been a stop to it like until now, and I don't think there will be. It just flowed. I don't know how to describe it. If you're going through something like that right now, or that might find like you might find that familiar to you or similar to like what you're experiencing, yeah, you get me. But otherwise it's just the best way to describe it, that everything just flowed, like one thing led to the other, and then I'm just right now like it's crazy. But yeah, like I said, my viewpoint just changed, and I had like this whole new like sort of like mentality that everything happens for a reason, and like even if we might not know what is it at like the precise moment that happens, or like even after that, is like all connected, and it might unveil in time, it might not, but it's all connected. And actually, like for those viewing like the video podcast, you can see my one and only like tattoo. I'm planning on more, but yeah, I actually made it in February in London, and it's like a matching tattoos with like some of my friends. um but I actually made that in February, and my whole process started in like March, and my whole idea about this tattoo came a year and a half earlier because of one of my friends that I made it with. She was like, "Oh, this whole idea," and I was like, "Wait, actually, that makes sense." And I found my own like meaning with it, and this whole viewpoint is like the idea behind this little circle that I have on my wrist. One of the meanings, because I have tons of it. You see a little circle and you think, wow, what meaning could have been like behind it? But yeah, a lot of meaning could be. But yeah, enough about the tattoo. Like I said, I didn't have like only one starting point. I had like a second big like initiating, like more, it wasn't even initiating because my whole process of like spiritual journey, let's say, had already started from that, like before that. But my second big point was when my mom passed away, like just a few months ago, like in back in April. So yeah, about that, like a week before it all happened, I started like noticing numbers and feeling like something was wrong, like feeling like really high. I was just, I had like a high sensitivity towards like everything. I was just feeling, because I'm a sensible like person as a whole, but that time I was feeling like I could explode. I was feeling, first of all, everyone's emotions like so highly. I was feeling my emotions so much, and I was feeling like I could literally explode like any. given second. And concerning the numbers as well, that's another thing that not a lot of people like believe in or think that it's real, like numerology. I didn't actually have like any specific personal connection with it as well until April. So yeah, it all really depends how it is, like how it happens in your life, because if you haven't really dealt with it or haven't had any experience with it whatsoever, you might be like, okay, that's not really true, that's like bullshitting, like that's but then I feel like even the people that believe the least in things like that just um just they get like the experiences, so they can be like, oh, actually it's like that, that's a whole thing that's real. And I feel like fate just brings those experiences to the people that don't believe. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. um so yeah, like I said, I started noticing numbers and I was like, what is happening? And it was like a week before my mom passed away, and I was seeing like 22, like three fours, and it was like, what is even happening? And then my mom passed away, and it all just started like flowing so much more. Like right now is just on this level when it's just crazy amount of like signs that I'm getting. Um and yeah, it's not only, I feel like I relate them personally as signs from my mom, but not only that, also from my cousin who also like passed away. I talked about them both in one of my previous episodes about like dealing with grief. You can check that out. But yeah, I just started noticing signs, and I obviously that I related it on them. And it's not only like the numbers, it's like sunflower, which I relate to my cousin, and also like hearts, and more specifically like purple hearts. And it's just everywhere that I go, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just my look just goes like that certain way, and I'm just like, wait, I'm not even realizing why I'm looking at where I'm looking at. For example, like a number of a car, a street name with numbers, or something like that, or even like some random direction. I just do what I do, and my eyes just go to what I'm looking. And that could be, like I said, like the number 22, which I relate to my mom, like 444, which I also relate it as like sort of like my angelic number, let's say. It could be a bit weird for whoever's like not really familiar with that, but I'll explain it a bit more afterwards. And yeah, the sunflower, which I'll give you like a really quick short story that actually happened just today. I was walking back home today from uni, and I was with my roomie, and I was just, my eyes just went down, and like one of the house's numbers was 22. And I was like, okay, because I smiled. Like every single time I see a sign like this, I just smile because I know it's like a sign from my mom. That's how I relate it, and that's how I envision it and have like this whole meaning behind it. But yeah, I look the number 22. I look up, my eyes just go directly to like next to the street, and I see this grant, like a huge, like a single sunflower just hanging there. A sunflower that I've never ever seen that, and I've literally been walking there since, like, I don't know, I've been walking back to university from the same route like every single day almost when I go there. And it's weird, and like right after I see number 22, like for me like a sign from my mom, my eyes go and I see a sunflower, like a sign from my cousin. And I literally like smiled so much. But also, those moments could be like a bit emotional for me, because like I did not have like this experience beforehand, like before April, let's say. And it was not even like that much like signs from my cousin, but now it just flows like so easily, let's say it like that, and I just like start noticing so much more. And I think it's because I'm just a bit more like highly sensible towards my surroundings and towards like everything that's happening, and that's why I'm noticing those little like signs. If I feel like I was not open to it, I would have not been receiving all those signs. And especially, like I said, hearts as well. I've been noticing like hearts everywhere in the shapes and forms of literally everything. Could be like stones, could be like foods, could be literally like a few weeks ago I saw like heart shape, like the water in the shower formed like like, oh my god, a heart, and I was like, wait, what? Like the water formed a heart. And in these moments I just sit there and I'm like, wait, is this real? Like, is this actually happening? Am I actually seeing that, or I'm just like having like delusions and I'm just starting to be delusional? But it's just, if it was, if it happened like one, two, three times, I would have been just, yeah, it's not like really a big thing, like a bit of neglecting it. But it's been happening like so much, especially with the numbers, the hearts. It's crazy. And the crazier part is that I get those like messages sort of exactly when I need them. And I didn't even know before that moment and in that moment that I needed them. And then I get them. I see like a number or like a sunflower heart or anything. And then I'm like, wow, okay, that made me emotional. I did not know that I was feeling emotional, and that I had like so much like emotions down in me in that exact moment. And then I just start thinking of how I'm actually feeling towards something. But they also give me like so much hope, like just to continue forward. And it's exactly like precisely when I need them. And like I said, I don't even know that I need them, but I just receive them and I'm accepting them, and I'm just more than happy to be able to notice them, because not a lot of people do. So yeah, oh yeah, that's a whole crazy thing to say the least. Whew, yeah. Additionally, I've from that period of time, like the last year and a half, let's say, I've also been doing like a lot of ego involved work. And there was like, since actually that was actually starting from my second point in April. I just started like reading more. I actually got into one of my currently like favorite authors. He's called like Edgar Toya. You might know him. He has like two like really popular books. The Power of Now is like the one that I read that changed my whole viewpoint about like ego, because I didn't really know like what I knew like the general idea behind ego and all of that, but I was like just neglecting it in a way. But this book, it changed my whole perspective towards ego. And he's like, a lot of Edgar Toe's work is concentrated towards like ego and like ego involved like self work. um and yeah, I've just been totally mesmerized by that book and like him as a person. So definitely, if you don't know him, check him out, please. You'll be like hopefully more than satisfied with him. Also, he's a bit hard at first to read, because he just dives in, like he doesn't care, he just dives in and like gets you into the material and into thinking. So just do that. Like, yeah, you might need a few rereads, but yeah, it's worth it. So yeah, like I said, I've also been doing like some like inner like child work, and just trying to go through like my childhood traumas. And all of that is like initiated from this whole process, like with this with these few points that I had, like initial points. But it sorry, I just had like a whole set of like psychological questions and that I haven't really thought about like before that much. And I just started to dive more into things that I didn't care about that much before, and I didn't even think they have any meaning to them. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a crazy process. And the funny thing about like spiritual awakening as a whole and like spirituality is that it just comes. Like you have no idea why it came, like you have no realization of, wait, how did that actually happen, why my whole viewpoint just changed. It could be like a singular event that happened, it could be like a dramatic thing that happened in your life, like losing a loved one, or just changing like a living situation or location, going on a trip somewhere, even just having like a talk with your friend. It could be like the simplest thing, but it could also be like the biggest thing. It doesn't really take into consideration what you're going through. It's just that it happens, and it's just right when you need it. Because personally, I would not have been able to deal that good with like grieving as a whole if I had not started this whole, let's say, spiritual process, because my whole mentality would have been different. I would not have believed in like afterlife. I would have not believed in like probably like communicating in some sort of way with the deceased ones, or just any sort of communication they might be providing for us. All of those things I relate to like my spiritual journey. But I've always like feel like I had this sort of connection and mentality that there might be like a deeper meaning behind like everything. And yeah, it's a bit crazy when I think about it. Um but yeah, I've also been doing like just as a whole deeper meditations, because I started, I think, around three ago, around 3 years ago, to do meditations. And but at the beginning, I was just, what am I doing? I'm just closing my eyes, and I have no idea what I'm doing. The first month or two when I started 3 years ago to do it, I was like, wait, that's not it. Why am I even doing this? That's dumb. But then a few months afterwards, because I stopped for like some time, and then I was like, wait, can I actually try this again, give it another shot? And then I was like, okay, that's good. But then I stopped for, because you need to be with meditation a bit consistent, especially at the beginning, to be able to have this sort of like base to set like ground on, and like be able to continue your journey from there. So yeah, like I said, the big like point of like meditations and all of that started in the first like big quarantine in like March. And there I was just consistent with it. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stick with it. And I think I did it for like 2 whole months like that, just meditating like 5 minutes a day, 20. I was doing like actually longer meditations back then. Right now I haven't done like a 30-minute meditation lately, but then I was just going for it. One day I think I even did like 40-minute meditation, which right now I could not imagine. Even like I said, it's like a journey that you build upon, but like at the same time, you, even if you're consistent with it, you still need like the mentality to do that. And right now I don't think I have like the capacity or mentality to do like a 40-minute meditation. But back then I had another viewpoint, but like we change like every single day, so that's completely normal. um but yeah, like I said, I've just been doing like deeper meditations as a whole. It doesn't need to be like longer, but just deeper, like you're more into it. And that gives you like a whole new perspective, gives you a whole different experience with it, because it's not like the normal one where just, especially if you've dealt with meditations, you know that it's, you go into like the meditative state, but you can have like a completely different experience every single time that you do it. And that's actually the best thing about it, because it's just about dealing with how you are in the moment, and just accepting that, and just seeing how you're feeling, and realizing you might not even know you're dealing with something like internally. But then you go into meditation, even for like a 5 minute one, and you can be like, wait, what? I was feeling hurt, I was feeling grief right now, I was feeling something that I was just putting my attention towards, like other things like work or something, and I was just not concentrating on that. And you actually need to nurture yourself at least like once a day, or like just to give yourself like this whole sort of care, because like no one else can give you like the care that you can give yourself. And I think that's the best part about it. And like spirituality makes you realize it even more, because we all know that like care about yourself, like self-care and all of that, but like it's more deep than that. It's not just doing the masks and listening to a Spotify playlist that you made, or just chilling or something, eating your greens. All valid, of course. Like I'm all down for all those things. I do them. Like who doesn't? But at the same time, it's more deep than that. Like self care as a whole. But yeah, from meditations to self care, yeah, there is a connection between that. But yeah, I'm getting a bit off topic. But still, yeah, like I said, the meditation I've been doing there like the last 2 years, like more deeply, and that, uh, or additionally, it resulted into increased number of like vivid dreams, because in one of my previous episodes, give it a bit of that self-promoting, I was talking about dreams and dreaming, and you can also check that out if you haven't already. It's a really interesting one, and I definitely suggest it. But yeah, so yeah, I got into like more vivid dreams and lucid dreaming as well, which is another thing I talk in my episode. And it's not only that, I'm actually getting positives and signs from my dreams, which was something that beforehand I think I might have been getting, but I just did not realize it. I was like, I just did not get involved into it that much. But now I actually, every single time, I just research on the second like what I dreamt of, because I know it has some deeper meaning. And especially, for example, if I dream like about my mom, or if I dream about specific sign or something that I've dreamt before, and I'm like, wait, what? I've actually seen that before in my dreams. It might have some relation, because it actually all relates to my like walking life, and I try to get as much as I can from my dreams. So because they can definitely, and they are definitely like helping me out in one way or another. So yeah, that's why I'm like writing them all down, so I don't remember, like I don't forget anything important, or like repetition things that could be happening and could be useful for me to like decipher what the actual meaning behind it could be. But yeah, as a whole, like spirituality, crazy thing. Even if you, most possibly, you might not have experienced something like that, because not a lot of people go through it. Not a lot of people have like those exact same experiences. But that's also like the good thing about it, because it's like all really personal with it, and it has like this emphasis on like the personality and like your soul and like mind body how you connect them all, like I already said. um so yeah, even if you haven't had like your initial process or something, it might come around, it might be just around the corner, you might not have any idea about it, you can be like really skeptical right now, but then it can just pop up in your life and you can be like, well, like where did that came from, like how did I change my whole vision towards everything, from like, it could happen for like a longer process of time, it could happen from like literally from night to day, like the other, like the next day you can be with a shifted mentality or something. But it all really depends, it's all really personal, so I could not say there's one structure of like, oh yeah, that's how you should do it, that's how, there isn't like a list for that, it's just it happens, and it's how you deal with it when it happens, and what you can actually take from it, and like what are the positives that you can get from it. That's I think the most important part of it. But yeah, so I have a few questions that I got asked for my last part of the episode. So first of all, I have, what do you think of spirituality becoming trendy around TikTok and also people getting miseducated about it? Do you think that's a real thing? Yeah, I think I mentioned quite a tiny part of that beforehand, but yeah, the fact of it becoming trendy is real. At least that's what I think about it. Because even though right now I don't have TikTok, special thanks to Emma Chamberlain, my icon, who made me like rethink about like my whole process of having TikTok. But yeah, anyways, even though right now I don't have TikTok, before that, everything I was seeing, it was like Christos based, like meditation, yoga, and all of that. It was just like really this whole self care part of thing, and like just, I don't know, like personally, I believe that yes, it did became like trendy. Is that a positive thing? From one side, yes, because like people, especially young people, are getting like more educated about it. But do I actually believe there might be miseducation about it? Yes, I do believe that. Because right now people believe, and there's, I think, this sort of like a narrative that's going on around, that spirituality is just like a negative thing. You need to be like a yogi, you need to be like alone in the mountains, or like you need to have like a Christos going on in your house, or you need to do like rituals every night, or do moon rituals, healings, and all of that. It's a thing. I personally do that. You who are listening that and are possibly on your own spiritual journey, you might not want to be involved in that at all, and that's completely fine. But like everyone has their own personal relationship with that. So yeah, I really do believe that people are getting in some sort of way miseducated about spirituality as a whole, because they don't envision it how it is really. They just see what's going on as trendy and think that's how it is, but it's actually, it's not that. It's like really just more deep. And um yeah, and some people, yes, they might have started to do it, like getting crystals and all of that because it's trendy, but that's also fine. Like, you do you. Like, that could also be your initial process. Who knows, like something might happen and you can actually have like a change of mentality or something. But yeah, it's definitely not about the crystals. Yeah, so next question is actually related to that. To what extent do you believe that owning crystals, tarot cards, and meditating affect how spiritual you are? Yeah, like I said just now, I don't think those things affect in any sort of way how you define your relationship with spirituality, like it has some sort of connections. Like, yeah, like those things could be really great sources and like helpers to your spiritual journey, like doing like readings, tarot cards, crystals, rituals, and meditating and all of that. Perfect, but it's not all about that. Like, not that could not work for everyone, and that's another thing that I think is like misconceptualized, because again, from like the trend thing, a lot of people believe that yes, you need to own crystals, do tarot readings, some meditation, meditating, yoga, and all of that to be spiritual. Like, no, you don't. Like, it's more about you as a whole, like how you connect your body to the outer world and like your whole vision. And it doesn't need to include all of those things. Yes, like I said, there could be really some beneficial things for you as an individual, but they could not work for every single person. And that's why I think you can just give it a try to just connect with yourself first. If you don't really think that all those cards of all those type of things like would work for you, and it's more about like, for example, like just researching upon it. And because it's been going on for like ages, like spirituality did not get created like yesterday. It was just, it's been going around like since forever, and there has been like so many like personal experiences with that from from people that lived like centuries ago, like written materials, like anything. You can just try to dive into that first and see if you actually think that might be something that you're interested in. But you can also start with like crystals, like tarot cards, and like meditation and all of that. Everything is valid. And like I said already, that's the best thing about spirituality. You don't have like a certain path you need to follow. You don't need to be trendy to be actually spiritual. You just need to do you. Like, be yourself, like see what you feel the most about it, like how you feel towards the whole thing. If something doesn't work for you, okay, then try something else. Like, explore and see what's the best for your own body and for like your own perception of things. So yeah, last question. So we have, what are some of your favorite spiritual practices? Okay, so that changes for me quite personally through the time. Like a week ago, it was one thing. Now it could be like another thing. But I started going to yoga classes. I went because my university organizes like free yoga classes, and how could I just not use that? So I went there like twice already. I missed like 1 week, 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, but I signed up for like all the available classes for now. And group yoga has been something that I've never dealt with before. I had the opportunity to do it like this summer and last summer as well, but I was like, I'm not ready for it. I don't think that's something that might work for me at the moment. But right now, like doing like group yogas, that's feeling amazing. And it's more of like a meditative type of yoga. It's not the traditional yoga that you need to do like really weird poses and just stretch a lot. It's just a meditative yoga. And I think that's the best part about it, because you just connect even more with what you're feeling at the moment and unwind. Especially for students, it's even like better, because we as students need that even more to be able to like be with ourselves for like an hour and a half, and just see how we are feeling, just to unwind from like all of the stress and like everything, like assignments and like deadlines, just everything that we need to be doing, and just be present with ourselves at the moment. And that's actually another thing, just being present at the moment. That's another, I would say, like spiritual practices of mine that I introduced like a few months ago, because after reading like this book, The Power of Now, I realized that it's like all the other practices are amazing as well, like journaling, crystals and all of that. Like I do all of that, especially like the crystals healing and all of that. I was not able to like really get into that so much, and the journaling as well. I've been doing it, but not that much as I want to. And then I realized that I need something that's more like about daily activity, like being at the moment present. And that's when I realized that I need to be just reshifting my whole perspective and narrative towards being right now at the moment. And from that, I just started like being like more present when I'm having a conversation with a person that's standing in front of me, and also just doing breath work a lot, like during the day. I think that's also a thing that you can do anywhere you are, and it's just really flexible. You can be like at the airport, in the bathroom, under the shower, at class, and you can just do breath work. It doesn't have to be like something really heavy. It can be just normal breathing, because it's like just a conscious breathing. um, and that gives it the power. It's just being conscious that you're here right now, and for example you're talking with that person or you're doing this task. It's about being present at the moment, and I think that's the most, let's call it, sustainable spiritual practice that I've discovered. Just daily practices that allow me to be present in the moment and get as much as I can from it, because at the end of the day we have short lives. That's reality. Like we have no idea what might happen tomorrow or right at this second. Like the best thing you can do is just be present at this exact moment. And I think for all of you listening right now, I can just give you this advice. Just, yeah, it's good to dedicate 5 minutes a day, half an hour a day to move your body. That's a thing that I actually advise you to do, and to just be with yourself. But you can also do it at the present moment, just right now when you're listening to that podcast or watching it. Just take a second and be like, okay, I'm right here, I'm listening to that. And that's it. Like that's the reality of that. And nothing more to that. It's just that action that you're doing. For me, for example, right now I'm talking, and that could be like the initial action that I'm doing, like talking. But behind that, there's also like just trying to get this message across. But like, which one do you think is like more like the one that's like more important? Yeah, of course, you might think, yeah, it's like she wants to give us like this whole message about spirituality. Cool, but my main activity is just talking. Right now, just talking, and that's it. The other thing is just secondary. But yeah, yeah. I think I'll just leave it like this and let you all think about it for a second or two or three or right now. So yeah, give it a thought. You might just, hopefully, possibly that could be your initial process towards spirituality. Like I said, it could be anything. And that's why I actually wanted to do this episode first, to explain what my journey with that has been, like religion, spirituality wise, the connectedness between the two, and how you can actually do both. But at the same time, I really wanted to see and like connect with all of you as well, to see if you had like some experience like that. So, or you might still be a bit skeptical even after listening to this podcast episode. That's also cool. But who knows? One day you might be like the next one doing a talk like that. So, yeah. Well, that's all for today's episode of Escape the Reality. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you were able to explore more about spirituality and their connectedness, and learn more about it, and as well maybe get more involved into your own experiences as well. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or whatever platform you get your regular podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also send all of your thoughts, stories, questions, or whatever you want me to talk about on at ETR with Karina on both Instagram and Twitter. I also have like the links below so you can check them. If you want to, you can always DM me and I'll be more than happy to help you out or have a chat with you. And don't forget to also watch the next video episode or the previous one for those tuning in through YouTube, and those tuning in online. You can as well check out my previous episode about traveling, and I also have the YouTube version of it. But yeah, send me all of your questions, thoughts, suggestions, whatever you have in mind. But yeah, have a great weekend and week afterwards, everybody. I'm sending you lots of love and see you soon.